Hello everyone, welcome to Sandbar Serenity. All right, today I want to talk to you about a major crossing that we had coming back from Bimini to Fort Lauderdale, in which we were in incredibly rough seas. We started off in 3s, and we went to 5s and 7s. And when we reached the Harbor Town Marina, the dockmaster actually told us that we were in 7 to 9 foot seas. So there was a lot going on. We hit 2 different storms. It really challenged us and challenged the other boats that we were with. So I want to go ahead and show you the rest of that trip footage. And then after that, I'm going to jump into the SIMRAD and show you the course, give you a lot of the context and the strategy that we all took as we were trying to dodge the storms and then ultimately had to go right through them for the trip. So let's jump into that footage, and then I'll talk about the context with the SIMRAD screens. Right, we are heading out on a stormy morning. Clouds just passed it over us with a bunch of rain and some lightning, and then we've got it also in Fort Lauderdale. So we got a 2-hour window to just race home as fast as we can and hopefully catch it.
250s up behind the 37.
All right.
Everybody's wake in the back.
Time to throttle up. We went through some major wave action just a little while ago. It's starting to calm down now enough that I can film. You can still see we're getting some major bow rise off these. The video probably just doesn't do it justice. We're nearing the halfway point. We should be pretty good. Looks like we're going to make it back with no problems, except maybe some rain when we get into Fort Lauderdale. See you in Fort Lauderdale. Alright, we're at the halfway point. We got a major storm brewing off our port side. Going as fast as we can to get there. Try to get around it. Rough seas ahead. Beautiful weather. All right, so here we are entering the second storm, and as you can see, these waves are far more ferocious than the first storm, which was in the 3 to 5 foot range. These are easily in the 5 to 7 foot range. And the waves actually, oddly enough, really get higher as we go further in. But we had to put the cameras down because it was just too tense of a situation. You had to really hold on for dear life. So great job to Carrie for getting these amazing video images out the back of her Sea Ray. All right, for these clips, I had to slow them down substantially because we were going up and down so fast in the waves as we were really hitting in the 7-foot range here. The wave heights were actually higher in just a little while, and I had to put the camera down completely. But what was basically going on is that I'm now surfing the boat because I was burning so much fuel earlier in the trip that I had to cut due north and go with the waves. These waves are heading north towards the Jacksonville area where I should be heading due west. So to conserve fuel and to make the ride a little bit smoother, I basically turned those rough seas into a following sea and was riding those waves, surfing the boat, conserving gas and gaining speed at the same time. So I was hovering in the 28 to 30 miles an hour range for these monster waves. All right, we can see Fort Lauderdale off in the distance. We made it. Hey, we made it. Still some rough seas ahead, but the worst is behind us now. Woo! Alright, we made it. Amazing to see land after a challenging crossing. Amazing. Kiss the camera, not me. We did it.
Home sweet home.
Oh my gosh, I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
All right, so let's talk about the weather because that really is the context for everything. So in this weather visual here, you can see this major weather system coming up from Cuba in the direction of Florida. And you can see the blue dot is us in Bimini. And this weather system is coming right into the Straits of Florida. So we made the call to leave right after this particular storm and take advantage of this clear space afterwards. That was about a 2-hour window. So we left at 7 a.m. And in this one, you can see what it actually looked like at the time that we left. So pretty clear skies. We knew it was going to be a little bit of roughness along the way. But that storm right there is the one that came up out of nowhere. And that's what we ran into, storm 1 and 2. All right, so now we're looking at the SIMRAD screen. And I'm going to give you just a few conditions that were on top of mind as we were making the go or no-go decision at 7 a.m. in the morning. So as you saw in the prior weather map, we had a major storm system coming up from Cuba into the Florida Straits. And we also had a major storm that blew over us on Bimini at 7 a.m. So as soon as that storm passed, we had that weather window of approximately 2 hours. And so we decided to take advantage of that because the storms were actually just going to get worse and we could get trapped on Bimini for several days in horribly inclement weather. But we also knew that there were going to be storms that were arriving in Fort Lauderdale at or near the time that we arrived over there. So we had to make that go or no-go decision right away and take advantage of that opportunity to leave. On the way over, which is the bottom line that you can see, which is pretty straight, and then you see that little kink in the middle. That's where we stopped about halfway, jumped in, enjoyed swimming in the blue water. On the way over, I burned about 55 gallons with a fully fueled boat, lots of gear and people, that sort of thing. So fuel consumption was definitely on my mind and burning through gas. On the way back, before we'd even reached the halfway point, in roughly 3-foot seas, lots of chop, and fairly inclement weather, I had already burned 25 gallons. So that was a real good indicator to me that we were going to be burning through some fuel the whole way, fighting, the wave action all the way to Fort Lauderdale. So gas and weather were definitely top of mind. All right, so it was approximately the halfway point in which we recognized the foul weather was coming. And you can see just above the Straits of Florida, that's where we encountered storm number 1. And then storm number 2 was immediately after that, approximately 10 minutes or so. You see that next little bump there, and that's where we ran into storm number 2. So as we hit storm number 1, I then tacked north just a few minutes after, as the waves were in the 5-foot range. The wind was, approximately 20 miles an hour or so, but I was managing to hold about 25 miles an hour, sometimes up to 30. But I noticed that I was burning a lot of gas fighting those waves. So I had to make a call to say, all right, we're going to either stay out here indefinitely without any gas, or I've got to change approaches very quickly to fighting this storm. So what I did was I turned the boat north and used the waves to help push me more towards Florida. So basically turned the boat into a surfboard and went north. And that reduced my fuel consumption, and I turned those seas into a following sea instead of one that was coming at my beam and hitting the boat and causing a very, very rough ride. So storm number 1 went north, surfed the boat, and that lasted for approximately 15 to 20 minutes. And then it smoothed out, as you can see on this line here, for approximately another 10 to 15 minutes. And then we hit storm 2, which was absolutely vicious. And once again, I went north, surfed the boat, and reduced the fuel consumption. And then once we passed that storm, then headed back south again, in a straight line back to Dania Beach. Now, doing that surfing technique actually really reduced the fuel consumption and only ended up burning another 15 gallons on the way home. So halfway, when we hit those storms, which you would have thought it would have burned a tremendous amount more fuel, only ended up burning 15 gallons from that point all the way home. So pretty phenomenal, aspect when you consider how much was actually saved and then what was burned on the first half of the trip. So my total fuel consumption on the first trip over was 55 gallons. My total fuel consumption heading home was 40 gallons heading through rough seas. So really phenomenal. The strategy of heading north, using the seas to help propel the boat along, and that actually saved a tremendous amount of gas. So that was what we did all the way through.